Okay, welcome guys to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to be discussing about cell, and basically we are going to be discussing about what is a cell, the definition of a cell. We're going to be discussing about the features of a cell, and basically we're going to be discussing classifications of cell, types of cells. A cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. So whenever you are defining a cell, always make sure that you note that a cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. So we're going to go straight into the cell theory, the postulates, the cell theory. So number one, theories of cell. Cell theory. So let's go. Cell theory. So number one, cell theory. All cells come from previously existing cells. Come from previously existing cells. A cell is indivisible. That means it cannot be divided into any smaller unit. It is the smallest unit you can divide a particular organism. That's a cell. Now, a cell can either be multicellular, cellular, or unicellular. So those are just some of the basic. There are still more, but I'll give you a link. I'll leave a link in the video to check some of the cell theory and read them on your own. So now basically let's just go into some types of cells. So now I'm going to start with the bacteria. So let's start with the bacterial cells. So with that, bacterial cells. So what are bacterial cells? We are starting with the bacterial cells. So bacterial cell. So now bacterial cells have a simple cell structure that you can see in the diagram. So there's a diagram here that shows us the structure of a bacterial cell. Some bacteria are spherical and some are rod shaped. So when a bacteria is spherical, it's known as cocci bacteria, and they also have rod shaped bacteria. Many exist in short chains of cells. Most bacteria are a few micrometers in length and can only be seen with a light microscope and electron microscope. So basically bacteria are microorganisms, so they are also classified as cells, but they are microorganisms. They cannot be seen with the naked eye because they are over 1 micrometer long. So before you see them, you need a normal light microscope or an electron microscope. So let's just go over the parts of a bacteria. Bacteria possesses a flagellum. It possesses DNA, cell wall, cell membrane, ribosomes, and plasmid. So then now that we are done with the bacteria, so I'm going to classify cells into two major things. So let's classify cells. So let's classify the cells as two major things. Classification of cells. So there are two basic types of cells. We have prokaryotic cells. First we have prokaryotic cells. And we have eukaryotic cells. So the major difference is just that prokaryotic cells have true nucleus. It does not have a true nucleus or does not have all the cells organelles. So prokaryotic cell does not. Majorly we classify it as no true nucleus. So let me just write that down there. So no true nucleus. No nucleus. So it does not possess a true nucleus, while the eukaryotic cells possess nucleus. So example of prokaryotic cells are bacteria and algae, and just pteridophytes and things like that do not actually possess a true nucleus. So while eukaryotic cells are those cells that possess a true nucleus. True nucleus. True nucleus. For example of these are plant cells and animal cells. They possess two nucleus, and so let's get on with that. So now that we have classified bacteria as cells that do not have two nucleus, let's continue. Alright, so we're going to be talking now about animal cells and plant cells. So now when you're talking about animal cells and plant cells, we're basically talking about the basic structural units of an animal. So animal cells, they normally have a true nucleus located at the center. They do not have a regular shape. There's no specific shape for an animal cell. They are amoeboid in nature. They possess cell membrane, cytoplasm, a nucleus, a nucleolus, cytoplasms, Golgi bodies, endoplasmic reticulums, and so on. While a plant cell basically contains cell walls, chloroplast, cytoplasm, cell membrane, nucleolus, and nucleus. So plant cells have a definite cell. They have a definite shape due to their cell walls. So that's number one difference, that plant cells have definite cell wall. Next difference is that plant cells possess chloroplast, whereby animal cells do not possess chloroplast. So what exactly is chloroplast? Chloroplast is that liquid substance, that is the chemical substance that helps green plants to carry out photosynthetic activities. It helps in the conversion of CO2 in the presence of water and sunlight to glucose for usage by the plant and for other animal consumption. Another thing is that the food vacuoles in plant cells are larger than those in animal cells, so we need to take note of these things, and that's just the basic difference. And another basic difference is that presence of cell membrane, of cell wall. An animal cell does not have a cell wall, but a plant cell has a cell wall. So let's just take note of these basic differences. Okay guys, so let's talk about the components of the cell. So first we're going to start with the nucleus, and basically in the nucleus it contains all genetic materials of the cell, and it's also known as the center for control of all the activities of the cell. So it controls all the other activities of the cell. So that's just the basic function of the nucleus. So next we get to the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is that fluid that all the organelles are suspended upon. So when you talk about protoplasm consists of all the living material of a cell, which consists of mainly the nucleus and the cytoplasm. So whenever you're talking about cytoplasm, is that fluid in which all the organelles means all these nucleus, mitochondria, lysosome, cell membrane, vacuoles, everything, that's where they are suspended upon. So now we go to the mitochondria. Mitochondria is also known as the powerhouse of the cell. This is where glucose is being converted into oxygen and ATP. So mitochondria is basically where power and energy is gotten for the cell to use and for the cell to make full efficient use of it. So mitochondria basically is like a generator. It helps to deliver power to the whole cell and make sure that the cell, all the organelles in the cell have energy to carry out their activities respectively. So now ER is a short abbreviation for endoplasmic reticulum. It is basically they are divided into two: rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The rough endoplasmic reticulum contains ribosomes, and basically endoplasmic reticulum helps in transferring mostly proteins and carbohydrates and lipids from one part of the cell to another part. So they normally transfer proteins and lipids to the Golgi bodies for use. So I'll get to the Golgi bodies later. So endoplasmic reticulum mostly help in ribosome storage. That's where the ribosomes are located. So lysosomes, these are substances that help in engulfing. They are just like the waste carriers. They help to destroy waste products, and any waste product that they see, they just destroy it in the cell. Any product of metabolism, they destroy it. So that's the basic function of the ribosome. Then the cell membrane has a very, very great function of giving the cell a definite shape, of protecting the inner organelles of the cell, of making sure that the cell organelles do not spill out from the cell, and make sure that the cell is compact and rigid. So that's the basic function of the cell membrane. So now vacuoles, they are divided into two. We have contractile vacuoles and we have fluid vacuoles. The contractile vacuole helps in excretion, that's removal of excess water from the body of a cell, while a food vacuole helps in eating. So when the cell, for example now in the cellular organism amoeba, when it wants to eat, its vacuole opens and it opens its pseudopodia to engulf a food particle. So when it engulfs a food particle, there's an air pore or an air space within the amoeba. That's called the food vacuole. It's like a space whereby food particles stay. So that's basically food vacuole. So when it comes to ribosomes, they help in photosynthesis, in conversion of proteins to amino acids and things like that. So Golgi body also helps in protein and in distribution of useful materials around the cell. So I'm going to post a link below and some questions that we can go through together on this video, and hope we can get the questions and let's read them together and cover everything. So please subscribe to my channel, share this video to those who you feel might be helpful to. Thank you for your time.